I looked at my collection of children's chapter books and thought aloud, what book should I use for my assignment? The Yearling, of course, answered my child, and her words were my own thoughts. What is it about the Yearling that makes me breathe a sigh of relief and contentment every time I pick it up? It's like visiting an old friend, or coming home after a long time away. It's the feeling of strolling down a white sandy beach with an empty shoreline at sunset. The rhythm of the book is like a grandmother rocking her grandbaby back and forth, just after the baby's been fed and is content. Many hours of slow and gentle rocking are to be had. I'm not sure when I first read the book, but somehow it's always been a part of me. I begin to read and I am there in the Florida scrub as though I had never left, with my friend Jody in the glen, and I hear the stream trickle and feel the coolness as it goes slowly by. I see Jody's careful construction of a flutter mill crafted from palmetto leaves, long, thin, and green, flipping on the current of the sleepy stream, and the hypnotic turning of the mill brings sleep, and everything is still and uninterrupted in the quiet, sandy scrub. A calm breeze brushes the boy's brow while he breathes deeply, and the slumber of boyhood is free of responsibilities or burdens. Boyhood, limitless like the blue sky above, and unhurried as the gentle stream gurgling by. Yet, just around the bend, the stream widens and brings inevitable events that rudely waken a boy from the dream of youth. He opens his eyes and is a man. Jody's boyhood slumber is unhurried, but Marjorie Keenan Rawlings, author of The Yearling, is no dawdler. She uses words to bring the reader home in the first sentences of the novel, like the feather in the opening scene of Forrest Gump. She writes, "A column of smoke rose thin and straight from the cabin chimney. The smoke was blue where it left the red of the clay. It trailed into the blue of the April sky and was no longer blue, but gray. The boy Jody watched it, speculating. The fire on the kitchen hearth was dying down. His mother was hanging up pots and pans after the noon dinner. The day was Friday. She would sweep the floor with a broom of tea, and after that, if he were lucky, she would scrub it with the cornshuck scrub. If she scrubbed the floor, she would not miss him until he had reached the glen. He stood a minute, balancing the hoe on his shoulder. The scene continues with Jody balancing the hoe, while two ideas balance in his mind. Continue hoeing rows of corn, or take a quick jaunt to the glen. And so it goes in this coming-of-age story, with boy Jody grappling against emerging man Jody, and the conflict is mirrored all around the scrub, as life struggles against death, famine against feast, and predator against prey. The scrub is Jody's home and refuge to a variety of wildlife, including honeybees, raccoons, panthers, poisonous snakes, deer, and old Slewfoot, a marauding black bear who steals livestock and is a nemesis to Jody's family. A fawn who becomes the desire of Jody's affection is allowed to be kept as a pet. The conflict between Jody and his parents as the fawn grows, with fawn grazing in the garden and in the family's cornfield, is the focus for the story, as Jody and the fawn's lives are increasingly and inexorably intertwined. Marjorie Keenan Rawlings was born in 1896 and would grow up to be friend and contemporary author to F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, and Thomas Wolfe. Rawlings was born in a year of firsts. The first modern Olympics in Athens. Breast cancer was first treated by radiation. Ford's first automobile was built. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was officially launched, and the first Tootsie Roll was introduced. Other notable happenings include the admittance of Utah as the 45th state when the Mormons abandoned polygamy. Stars and Stripes Forever was written by John Philip Sousa, and a tsunami struck the shores of Japan, killing 27,000. Rawlings, born in a year of firsts, would herself be among the first of notable American female authors when in 1939 she won the Pulitzer Prize Award for The Yearling. Rawlings, at 6 years old, was eager to write, and write she did. She submitted short pieces to the children's section of the local newspaper, and at age 11 she won a Washington Post writing contest. At age 15, her short story titled The Reincarnation of Miss Hetty also won a prize. Rawlings, a city dweller in adulthood, moved away from it all with her husband Charles Rawlings to North Florida, where they bought a small orange grove and farm in the hamlet of Cross Creek. Rawlings fell in love with the simplicity of farm life. It was reminiscent of childhood summers spent on her family's farm in southern Michigan. Mr. Rawlings never adjusted so well, and when he decided to return to the city, Rawlings could not be persuaded to join him. Rawlings' own description of life at Cross Creek reveals why. This was not the Gold Coast of Florida, it was a primitive section off the beaten path, where men hunted and fished and worked small groves and farms for a meager living. And the country was beautiful, with its mysterious swamps, its palms, its great live oaks, dripping gray Spanish moss, its deer and bear and raccoons and panthers and reptiles. As much as she loved the scrub, she despised the city and wrote her reflections in a poem entitled, Having Left Cities Behind Me. Now, having left cities behind me, turned away forever from the strange, gregarious huddling of men by stones, I find those various great towns I knew fused into one, burned together in the fire of my despising. North Florida, more to Rawlings than just a place to call home, was inspiration, and a place where her mind was set free. Like the animals who feed off the land, so did Rawlings' creative talent flourish on the bare beauty of the wilderness. It would be out of the sandy scrub and the people who had thrived there for generations that the Yearling was born, and where Jody and his yearling will always run together in the hearts and minds of Rawlings' readership.